everybody, welcome to TMI Live. Too much information with Moondog. Sorry for starting this late. Just got back from a late lunch with my mother and my brother, who's in town, and so traffic. Anyway, I was hoping to get started on time, but obviously that didn't happen. But I appreciate everybody joining me 15 minutes late. And because I have a special guest, we're going to be talking about AI, as you know, that's one of the buzzwords that's going on, and how it's affecting the job market as well as job prospects in the future for everybody. And I have a special guest today who's been on the show before. It's very good old friend of mine, Scott Robinette from Elysium Software. I figured he would be a good person to talk with, since I'm not I'm not a software guy. I'm a bit of a computer nerd, but I certainly don't want to talk too much out of my butt about stuff I really don't know that much about. But then again, to be honest, I don't think most of the people in AI really know what's going on. They just talk like they do. But anyway, I want to bring early in the show. And then we'll get into our sponsors and everything. But I want to bring early into the show, Scott. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I've totally forgot. We got to do the sponsor plugs, because it's to make it look like I'm a legitimate show here, right?
Of course.
But if it's a good opportunity for me to also talk about some of these companies with you. Starting off with, this show is sponsored by Aura.com, which is an online cybersecurity company that I use to help protect me on the web. Now, they've got a slew of services, and maybe, Scott, you could talk about some of these, or at least if you ever used them. They've got VPN, which, what does that stand for, Scott?
Virtual private network.
Very good, very good. Because most people don't know what a VPN even stands for, but maybe you could explain to folks what that means, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, based on what you said earlier, I get paid to talk out of my butt about AI. Yeah, it's basically it's almost like a secret tunnel that you put through the internet, so that it supposedly encapsulates all of your data in an encrypted way, so that snoopers can't see what you're doing. The big reason that a lot of people use VPNs is mostly because it also gives you a secret IP address that just so happens to not correlate with where you actually are or the service providers that you're using. So, just saying, not that I would ever do this, but for people in places like Canada and other countries trying to look at American content and getting geo-fenced out, VPNs are pretty cool.
Hey, that's a definite plus. And if you want to watch content, like on Netflix or other streaming channels that are, because of licensing, you can't watch in the U.S. without behind certain paywalls, what have you. But if you say you're in Europe or in Asia, you can watch stuff that you can't watch here. So that's another good reason why you want a VPN. And as I mentioned, they bundle a bunch of services, including credit monitoring and data broker removal services. I know if you ever had to deal with that, or if you have actually purchased information from data brokers, Scott.
No, I've used them with some of my clients, but I've never done it myself.
So for those of you who don't know, there are companies out there called data brokers, and they basically sell lists of people, that they've collected from other businesses, other data brokers, or there's a lot of our information that is publicly available, and they buy it and sell it to anybody who wants to purchase it, and that includes our personal information, like our phone numbers, our email addresses, sometimes our physical addresses. And if you don't want that stuff to be sold, you have to go to each and individual one of these data broker companies to formally request to have your information removed. Or, which I recommend here, is go to Aura. You can sign up with them and just hit a button, and they will go and formally to all these companies at once. And I got myself off of like 30 different data brokers inside the span of a week. And here's the thing: you can use my code which is on screen right now, and you can sign up for a free trial of Aura. Use my code. It'll take you to aura.com/moondog. Sign up for 14 days for free, and you can use them for free. So I recommend everybody to try them out. Let me know how it works for you. Again, it's free 14 days, so you can use all of their services, and I just use them for 14 days. These sponsors are conditional sponsors. So actually, this channel doesn't get anything other than a commission for if you do try them out. So try them out so that you can help support this channel. All right, and now we have a second sponsor, and that is Mad Hat Jerky. Which let me grab a couple here. This is also going to be the prize today. So we have Mad Hat Jerky is all natural jerky from Pennsylvania, made by Matt, who is at the time was an 11-year-old, and he made it from his grandfather's original recipe. And he's I think he's like a 17-year-old now, so it's been like 5 or 6 years since he won a national jerky competition with his jerky. Well, that's great. The 11-year-old wins a national competition for jerky.
So much awesomeness going on just in this one segment. I love it.
Yeah, this stuff is good. I've had it, and it's unlike the mass market brands where you really have to bite down. It feels like we're chewing on leather. This stuff is chewy, but manageable, and so many different flavors that he has. What I haven't tried yet, but it's really intriguing to me is Punjabi. So I don't know how many times you've gone to like a 7-Eleven or a convenience store and had so many flavors. Like, hey, there's Hatch chili. Here's the thing.
I'm going to take that QR code right now.
Yeah, use that QR code because you can get a absolutely free sampler pack using that code. You just have to pay for shipping, which is like less than $5. Use my code there, and you can get a free sampler pack of jerky. So try them out. They're great. Great snack.
I'll see if I can convince him to ship it to Canada.
that too. You still have your smuggler's drop box in Buffalo?
Yeah, I do. So I might just have him ship it there.
Yeah, we go. So you should. You know what? You should explain to folks. So Scott's in the Great White North in Canada and Ontario, and so this is what Canadians have to do to get some American stuff. Is that there's everybody most people know of mailbox services where you can get a mailbox and a PO box for yourself, but a lot of Canadians use American mailboxes so that they could get stuff shipped if you are relatively near the border. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, which most Canadians are, with the exception of a couple of the cities, but almost all of the major Canadian cities are near an American border, right? So you look at, I actually grew up in a city called Windsor. I think I mentioned that one of the other live casts.
Yeah,
which is literally like across the river from Detroit. So I did everything in Detroit, and then obviously now I'm in the Toronto area. We're really close to Buffalo, and Niagara Falls actually is New York is where we typically do one of these mailbox services. But I got friends in Montreal. They go to Vermont and stuff like that all the time. But yeah, it's been great. We haven't done it too much lately, just because of everything that's going on, and it's made going back and forth across the border a little more not challenging. Just you don't really know what's going to go on. But yeah, I mean, there's certain things that you just can't get. It's actually recently in the last couple of years when things changed with customs rules with sending things over the internet, because for a long time, for probably the first 20 years that Amazon was around, Amazon would send stuff to Canada and we wouldn't have to pay duties or customs or anything. But now they're putting duties on everything. So we end up just shipping it there, you go across and then grab a bunch of stuff and come back. So
hopefully
tires are a big thing.
Which are tires?
Tires. Yeah.
Why
tires
is it?
They're like literally less than half price in like New York State versus here in Ontario. I'm sure I used to know the reason why. I'm sure there's all kinds of reasons why, but it was so much of a deal that you had to I've never done this, never had to buy tires there, but people will go across and get tires and then drive them around for like 2 hours and try to scuff them up or whatever before they go across. Because if the customs sees your tires, you've got these brands faking these tires on your car. They're kind of like, yeah, do you have a receipt for those?
Right. Yeah, if you go in there with some nail clippers to clip off all those little injector hairs.
Yeah, they're. I mean, and the New Yorkers, right? The people in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, whatever, it's Tonawanda, like they'll hook you up. Like they know what you're doing. So they're like there was a whole thing going on where they help
no
you.
way.
Yeah, and there is actually a kind of a neat thing that again, growing up in Windsor, Detroit was like the big guy on it was the big thing on, the big kid on the block, so to speak. We would do everything in Detroit. And coming here it was different because Buffalo, it's kind of opposite with Buffalo and Toronto, because Toronto's, it's almost 2 million people here in the GTA area. So you've got a lot of places in Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York, that are catering to the greater Toronto area. Because Toronto, Hamilton,
Yeah.
all the way up to Oshawa, it's actually a pretty huge area. And so much so that the PBS station actually calls themselves PBS Buffalo Toronto. Was it Buffalo Toronto? I think, because they get so much money from Toronto donations for the PBS station in Buffalo that they stuck the Toronto name on it. But so yeah.
Are you gonna have to change? Are you gonna have to change the name and what it would be, Torontolo?
Yeah. But and then they got really mad because they were threatening that that we were somehow going to steal the Bills, which is like never going to happen. Never going to happen. We're never going to get an NFL franchise here, and that's fine because I'm happy watching. I mean, it's not to go on the whole NFL thing, but it's been nuts because I grew up as kind of a Lions fan.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they sucked the entire time I was a kid. Now they don't, so it's awesome seeing them. And then I moved up here, and when I moved up here, Buffalo sucked, and now they don't. So these two teams, and then the Blue Jays up, like,
Oh yeah.
It's the World Series this year, so that was cool too.
Yeah, was that a bit of a tense time at the house with Marta rooting for the Dodgers?
No, she was rooting for Toronto. She's
okay.
She's a total convert. She's voting for Toronto, but she also tends to just vote for underdogs in general.
Okay,
so there is that too, but. Not that I thought that Toronto's an underdog in that series, but
I was going to say, yeah, Toronto's not really for that. Yeah, I mean, it came down to the wire.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, we went to a couple of games at the beginning of the year in Toronto. We were just like, these guys are terrible. And then by the half, just before the beginning of the season, they just took off, and it was fun. It was fun to see. Baseball tends to be like that, I think, right? I'm not a huge baseball junkie or anything like that, but you just never really know what's going to happen. I mean, the Dodgers were looking like they weren't going to make it to the World Series either, and then there they were. So yeah, but the whole country was crazy because there's only one baseball team in Canada, so the whole country.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought it was I thought there was at least one more, but I guess it didn't. Yeah, it makes sense.
There was the Expos until they moved to Washington. So
that's right.
Montreal Expos,
yeah.
So, which is supposedly a great tragedy. I don't know, because I wasn't an Expos. Yeah.
Well,
it's still people in Montreal bitter about that. Quebec City, still bitter about the Nordiques, even though that was, I think, like 30 years ago now, right? So, yeah. People like sport.
I just saw that Porsche Speedster ordered a sample pack of Manhat Jerky. Good job there. And Pick also did. And you guys, Porsche and Pick, you got to tell me what you think of it. I believe the sample pack includes the Punjabi, which I got to try. I can't give one of those away because I want to open that and eat it. So they sent me a big box sampler pack of all these. So I'm going to give away, which one I'm going to give away today? Shall I? So we got roasted garlic, spicy roasted garlic, and hatch chili, and what else we got? And spicy original, and this is the flank. So apparently they also have regular as well as flank steak. I'm not sure what they use for the regular stuff. Maybe it's probably chuck, as I'm guessing. I don't know which cut of beef that most people use for jerky, or at least what he uses. But I saw an original, and then there's gourmet flank. So there you go. Which flavor should we give away today? You think? Do you want to give away the gourmet flank roasted garlic, the gourmet flank, or the hatch chili?
I'll do the hatch chili.
All right. So we're going to give away the hatch chili today to the winner of So let's move on. Let's move along and give you guys a clue to the contest today. It's going to be a live contest. So we're going to do the drawing at the end of the show. And let me just bring this up onto stage here. And so for everybody else, there's your coupon. There's your QR code to order your free sampler pack. Here's the clue for today. And disregard the thing at the bottom there about emailing me. We're not going to do an email contest today. It's going to be a live contest. So type into the side chat the hashtag symbol and the name of this company. That's their logo over there, and they are a social networking company. So if you know who this company is, post it in the live chat right now. All right, we'll move on. So the new videos, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of these, because I don't think maybe you have seen it. I don't know how often you watch YouTube, but if any of these come up to your feed. All right, so this is a new scope brand, and as a little a little teaser here, this is also going to be available to win this month on my website, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the show when we talk about contests. But this is a brand called Aquifer, and I know you're a gaming nerd. Perhaps you know what an Aquifer is.
No.
Oh yeah, I didn't either. So
I mean, I was super into like Call of Duty and Battlefield way like 20 years ago, but
no, this is like historical. This is like ancient history kind of stuff.
Does Battlefield 1942 count? Maybe.
No, yeah, this is way back. This is Roman Legion kind of stuff. So, I was thinking more in the terms of like what is Age of Empires kind of.
Yes, that's it.
So
yeah, with the trebuchets and the ballistas, is those the ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is apparently, I had to look this up because I thought it was just a nonsense word. You know how like a lot of Chinese companies have nonsense names, and I don't. That's not derogatory. They literally are, because there's so many companies in China that all the good names have been taken already, so you can't trademark them in China. So they've just, I'm sure there's a website out there that's like random name generator for my company, and they make it easy for relatively easy for companies that are in the export market in China to establish a brand so that they can start selling, whether it's on Amazon or Temu or AliExpress. But of course, they need a name and a website. So with all the big good names taken, they have to go with some really offbeat names or combinations or mashups of names. And it ends up literally being a nonsense, or sometimes really just totally butchered spelling of a name just to be unique and get the URL. So Aquifer is the title of the Roman legionnaire who carries the golden eagle standard for the legion.
Oh,
so aquil is the Latin word for eagle. So the Aquifer is the eagle holder.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I thought that was a pretty cool name.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know it, and it just seems like a weird sounding word to me. But yeah, for those,
it sounds like something that would have something to do with, I don't know, water or something. But
yeah,
I would.
And as Tim Mooney says, then that's the reason why we have the eagle. One of the reasons why we have the eagle on top of our flagpoles is also sort of as a callback to the Roman Senate and that sort of imagery. So anyway. So this is the same scope that I reviewed. So it's actually pretty decent budget scope, and it is and you can win one. I'll get you details about that. So here's the video. Here's a video short from the review that I posted. This is the TP1-8, a very affordable LPVO from a company named after a position in the Roman Legion, Aquifer, and I am Moondog, an average shooter with an above-average interest in making videos, so if you'd like to see me test this LPVO, hit the like and subscribe button right now and we'll get started. So I tried to go with a little more of an ancient-sounding soundtrack for that video. But that was the Aquifer, and I took it out to the range, and it actually did pretty well. It's got it's got a daylight bright reticle, and it comes with a mount, so it's a pretty decent package. But again, it's not a name that sort of rolls off the tongue that most people are familiar with.
That's very cool. I like the soundtrack. Big fan.
Thanks. All right, and I've got just turns out that I had a ton of LPVO companies or companies with LPVOs wanting for me to review it. So this hot in its heels. Also this week, I posted up a review for Vector Optics, which is another Chinese optics company, but I've reviewed them before, and a lot of people know them better than Aquilifer. Obviously, is a new company, but Vector Optics, I really didn't know. They're not a really well-known brand in the U.S., but apparently, and I don't know how accurate this is. There's always a little bit of hearsay and scuttlebutt, but they say that they actually make the scopes for some really more expensive European brands. And I don't know who they are, but looking at the scopes, I can kind of believe that because they're really the milling. I could just see little details in terms of the industrial design that they spent a little more time with this particular scope. The curves are just very smooth and nice, and it looks like they spent time finishing. Whereas with cheaper scopes, when they cut stuff, you can feel the edges on a little bit rougher. This one is a lot more primo, and they use, for this particular scope, they use German shot glass, which is a well-known glass manufacturer or type of glass that Zeiss. If you've heard of that optics company that makes lenses,
Yeah.
I believe Shot is made by one of Zeiss's subsidiaries, and it's a well-regarded type of glass. That's they use it in. Shot makes glass for a lot of high-end optics, as well as they make glass for scientific instruments. So
Very cool.
Yeah. And so I posted up a review of that particular one. I wonder if I use the same intro line, but we'll see how it goes. I forgot which video short I posted up here, but let's watch this for a second. This is the Vector Optics Continental, a fiber optic daylight bright LPVO with extra low dispersion shot glass. The kind of features you expect to find in more expensive European optics, but at a Chinese price. Is it any good? Let's find out. So I don't know if you could saw a little bit of snippet there. I did show that it's got illuminated reticle, and it's illuminated with a little fiber optic, literally a fiber optic thread. You know how the crosshairs are on a scope. So these ones are they snaked in a fiber optic thread and then painted the reticle on top of it. So at the very end of the thread shows the laser going through it, and that's what projects the little red dot on it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's one of the ways that they can get it bright enough, because a lot of people complain that sort of like the catch-22 is if you want a very fine dot so that's not obscuring your target. Like if you're shooting something at long range, like over 500 yards or whatever, a human head is not going to be very big. So if you have a very visible crosshairs, you'll obscure your bullseye by the thickness of those lines. But the catch-22 is most illuminated reticles are illuminated because there's actually reflective material that they paint on it. So if the line's very thin, there's not very much reflective material there, so it's not very bright. So the problem with a lot of the thin or floating dot reticles that were illuminated before, and they're sort of backlit, is that to make those dots really thin and small, they weren't very bright at daylight. So somebody came up with a brilliant idea of running that fiber optic thread in the center.
And to say it sounds like a good job for a laser of some type. I mean, really, what isn't? But for that in particular, just you get the brightness and the thinness that you're saying that you need there, right? So you being able to channel something from fiber optic sounds like the way to go.
There are some drawbacks to it. One is that you're limited by the thickness of the fiber optic thread. It has, your reticle will end up being thicker than that. And the other downside is you can't have Whereas if you didn't use the fiber optic, you could design reticle designs that kind of float there, or don't have other things around it. But this one, with the fiber optic, you physically have to have it connected to the outside, to the edge of your scope image. So you're kind of limited in terms of how you design how the reticle actually looks. And I've got a couple of comments here. I'm just going to bring them up for folks who are asking some questions here. Let me just go back a little bit. I hope folks could see the little scroll. They've got a new feature on StreamYard that allows you to see what people have been posting here. And let me just go back here. Schott AG is a German multinational glass company specialized in manufacturing glass and glass ceramics. And then Royvenator asked the question: Athlon Argus BTR Gen 2, 8-34. Well, okay. Well, he wants to know, is it for that price, is it a good scope? I haven't looked at that particular scope, but the Argoses in general, I thought were really good, a bang for the buck. The Argos glass is their sort of mid-range or entry level, just a hair above entry level. It's not the Talos, but the Argos, I think, is a good step up from the Talos, and not as expensive as their Midas or their other higher lines. So you're going to see a little more chromatic aberration in the glass. But for that price, I think that's a good price. And Vector Optics Sentinel 10-40 is I think was a suggestion from Pick there. He says it's probably a better deal that he would recommend the Vector Optics Sentinel. Though if you can get the Sentinel for about that price, then it may be a better deal. So it all depends. I don't know if that Vector Argos BTR is a new one or a used one at that price. That's surprisingly low for a new one. So I don't know. I think I would jump on it if that's a new 8-34. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next video. This one is on my Moondog Reviews channel, which is my non-pew pew stuff. And this is, as you can see from the video, it's I field tested at a baseball field. It was a baseball game for the San Francisco Giants, but of course, as we all know, baseball season's over. And this was back in October that I took it out to the ball game to test out. And of course, I pulled up the wrong thumbnail. That was a bonehead move. But anyway. What I wanted to show you, and I'm going to show you the video of it, but that's the wrong thumbnail that I posted up there. Sorry about that. I actually posted that video a few weeks ago. So the video that I posted this week, or at least last weekend, was for the Loophole. I brought actually two scopes to compare at the ball game to see, which of these two, they're roughly about the same price tier, but I wanted to compare the Athlon to the Loophole, and here's the video that I posted was of the Loophole actually. These are Loophole BX4 Pro Guide HDs, and we're going to see if these sporting field binoculars work on this kind of sporting field. Watch the full video on my channel, Moondog Reviews. You'll find a link in the video description. So it really was great to bring those binoculars. They were like 10 power binoculars because it really got close to the players from our seats. And their seats weren't bad, but it was like, wow, okay, I'm like better than the dugout.
Yeah, you're like right on the plate.
Yeah. And it was also good because we were on the level just below the sort of the private booths, the club booths. Where the companies buy those private booths. So I actually spent a lot of time just looking to see are there any stars or celebrities watching the game?
Yeah, that'd be something. Being at the Giants game, you'd be like, it's like being at the Dodgers game. You just scan the whole stadium and see who's there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd see more. Certainly, you'd see more celebrities over at the Dodgers game. But I tried to see if I could see any tech celebrities You know.
Yeah, I'd be more pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be a little more likely.
True. True. Hey, is Elon here today? Or that,
Yeah.
that's
Sam Altman, whoever's up there, I imagine.
yeah. All right. Now we were talking about this because so on my other channel, which is Moondog, my travel channel, I posted up a visit to the Temple of Dendor, which is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And you guys, I just found out, we just chatted just a bit. You guys had recently been to New York to the museum as well.
Yeah, first time I was there on business and took the family with me. We were
Wait,
there.
wait, you've never been to the Metropolitan Museum of Art before?
No, I've been to actually Brooklyn probably 4 times on business and had never actually even been like to Manhattan. So it was like my first time actually. I know it was ridiculous. So when I got the family this time, we went and had to check out the Met because, as you know, the Marta and the girls are big museum fans to begin with. And I'd heard about the Met. It's a museum, but wow, it was something. It's the only museum I've literally gotten lost in like 3 times. It
Oh
was
yeah.
like it's we went inside. I don't even, but it was like there's like a house. It's an old, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
There's
the Frank Lloyd Wright house that's there, the living room.
yeah, and then you
Yeah.
go inside, and then you enter like a different portal, and all of a sudden you're like in that house for like an hour, and you pop out in another part of the museum. It was very very cool, but very surreal. But yeah, very impressive. I think I have a better idea now of why the Met's considered to be a great museum. It was
Yeah,
very cool.
it's
We went to, this was what my daughter wanted to see the most, and when we went, it was all cordoned off because they were doing a fashion show or something, so they were lighting it all up, and
oh.
we couldn't actually go on it, which was a little disappointing. But I mean, it's massive, so it's not like you're really missing out anything. It's the whole room, right? But yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it's great if you can come back because you can literally, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from touching the thing other than
Yeah,
the guards saying, "Don't do
yeah,
that." But
yeah.
you can literally walk up and walk into. And I believe when I was younger in the 70s, you could actually walk into the interior of the temple itself. But they rescued this from the Aswan Dam in Egypt when
Yeah.
Abdul Nasser, I believe, was the president at the time, and it was electric generation project. They dammed up a section of the Nile River, also for flood control. But because they created the dam, they backed up and created a lake behind it, and there was this temple that was in danger of just being covered up by the water. So I believe the Rockefeller Foundation donated the money to move that temple and bring it to New York, and they created a whole wing of the Metropolitan Museum just to house that temple, and that's you can go there and you can go see it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, like you said, the story behind it was also remarkable, right? Just we're gonna move a temple. I'll pay for that. No problem. Just and the diplomacy around the whole thing too, right? Because I think there's a whole diplomatic thing around it, being the late '60s and everything else. And but yeah, it's really remarkable story, and it's really something. It's kind of like surprising too, because behind that wall, right, that you've got on the right hand side, it's just like a regular, darkened museum with, I think, some art pieces or something like that. And then
Yeah.
you turn a corner, and all of a sudden there's this huge, full of light, windowed, massive roof over a temple that is clearly, old
Yeah,
and
it's just
important
it seems
looking.
so out of place. I mean, like
Yeah,
it's
it's so
something.
weird. But very neat. And like I mean, the picture doesn't do it any, obviously it doesn't do it justice of just how big it was. It is yeah, really fascinating. And he is surrounded by water too, right? Like it's
Oh
got
yeah,
like a,
yeah. Good point.
yeah,
Yeah, they make like a little like fountain around it because I mean originally I guess there was like it was the surroundings were like marshes and rivers. So I think that's where they got that inspiration. And I think I posted earlier this week that if anybody could identify which movie that this was featured in, And so for those of you out there who are watching and are fans of 80s rom-coms, it was in When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. As was most of New York, and yeah, in that movie.
Yeah, that movie was just as much what would you call it?
A love letter to New York, really.
Yeah, yeah, a tourism spot.
Yeah, it's a 2 hour long tourism commercial for New York City.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna share a little short of it, and what they did recently, which I think is brilliant, is that most people, I certainly when I was growing up, didn't know about all of these ancient temples and sculptures that we see. We see them as they are now after hundreds, thousands of years of weathering. Originally, they weren't this color. They weren't. I mean, they were covered in limestone paint. They were white, and then they painted on that white. So just undercuts, like if you're your own house, you wouldn't just leave cinder blocks up. Yeah, they plastered it, and then they painted all of the etchings, sculptures, or what was it, the reliefs of that they carved on to these stone blocks, but they painted them. So what they did recently is they're projecting what the original look of the temple is on the side of the temple. So you can see a little bit in this video here. So there you go. That's a section of what it would have looked like back in the day.
It's very cool. I don't think they were running those projections when we were there, so that's the first I've seen of it. Very neat.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah, it's a really chill place to go, especially after walking around Manhattan all day, just to go there and spend time with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a good point. It was busy when we went. It probably always is, but it didn't feel crowded. But it's kind of looks massive too when you walk up to it, but it's actually even bigger than it looks from the outside, I guess, because it backs up on Central Park, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess maybe that's why I didn't get a good look at the back of it, but yeah, I mean, it's a great place. I mean,
I was talking to one of the conservators there that it's actually about, I forget if it's a half or a third. This the bigger museums is the Louvre, which is about twice as big.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, but the Louvre was the original royal palace of the King of France. So yeah,
it makes a little sense.
Yeah, he could afford a bigger house.
yeah. He didn't. Money wasn't much of an object back then for that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Isn't that the same one that moved to Versailles, right? Because the Louvre is too small. So
yeah. I don't like being in the city. I want to have a little more space. So
yeah,
built Versailles.
Yeah, I need a garden. It'd be nice to have a place where I can stroll. So I'm gonna build Versailles. Yeah. Which incidentally, actually, inside that Frank Lloyd Wright, there was actually a Versailles thing in there. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's one of the random rooms that I got lost in, literally. And it's just a huge room.
Right.
And it's got the whole wall painted, and it's like you're standing in Versailles. And I've never been to France yet, but they were trying to show the scope of the Versailles Gardens, right? The fountains and everything. And if it's actually even remotely like that, that must be a sight.
It is quite beautiful. I mean, it's just, it's expansive. And a lot of the English gardens were influenced by that. So you just wowed so many other rich nobles around Europe that they wanted to copy him.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Things haven't changed much, have they?
No, I was gonna say, it's just It's just the same but different. The different but same, right? Yeah.
So Tim says, didn't they write? I'm sure they did it. The place is big enough. I'm though. I don't. I'm sure that it would have taken a lot of work to buff out those horseshoe prints off of
Yeah. And
I don't know.
everything else that comes
Yeah.
with part of a horse in a building, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me bring up actually oh my gosh, time's flying. Okay, let me just zoom through some of these other slides here. I'm going to skip through the thumbnail of this, and just want to give you guys a heads up that next weekend I'm going to be posting a review of the O site. And if you have any ideas for a good thumbnail headline, this is the new O site that's battery operated. So for those of you, I mean, it has a removable battery tray for those who didn't like the O site because it was rechargeable. Well, now you got one that has a battery tray. And here's your next clue to win your Hatch Chili Jerky. Name this brand. It's a U.S. social networking company, and it's been described as the Facebook for the white collar office. And its name rhymes with Abraham Lincoln. So if you know this company, type it in the hashtag in the side chat, and you'll be entered to win this Mad Hatch Chili flavored jerky. Okay. Now let's get down the rabbit hole for what little time we have. I think we only have like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I got 15. Yeah.
So, what have you been working on in terms of AI, or at least when you're talking with your clients and what they've been using AI for, or they're interested in using AI for?
Well, we predominantly do contract software development. We work with a lot of startups, and we work with a lot of small and mid-sized businesses to kind of bring their ideas to fruition, as the marketing speak for it, right? So they'll come to Elysium Software with an idea for a mobile app or a platform or a web app or something, or a combination of all of them, which is nowadays what we do a lot more in that vein, where it's a platform with a user application web app that also has a mobile piece to it. And we do things with e-commerce. We have a site that's doing like a coaching platform. There's another one we're working on, which is and this is just totally coincidence that we picked this up in the last couple of weeks, but it's for a hockey association here in Toronto. Just, living the stereotype on this live stream here, but it just happens to be one of the biggest minor hockey associations in North America, actually. And they themselves, we haven't been hearing too much about how they're using AI, although they're all using ChatGPT to help them write documents and all that kind of typical thing. But as a software contractor and software architecture firm, we hadn't really been using AI until about 6 or 7 months ago. Partially because I'm just jaded. I've been doing it for so long that when I hear anything that comes along in tech, I'm like, whatever, right? Like, it's overhyped. And this is, don't get me wrong, it's definitely overhyped. It's the way that the industry works, right? And I mean, anytime you've got companies that immediately have billion-dollar valuations, and a company like OpenAI that apparently has, and this is an exaggeration, something like $1.2 trillion in loans with NVIDIA and the rest of the data centers, that just came out recently, that they've got like these long-term contracts with these data centers and these chip providers and everything, because apparently they're eventually going to make $1 trillion and pay them back. I don't know how many people are following this or saw that Sam Altman just issued a code red at ChatGPT to basically pointing out that he feels like they're falling really far behind on some of the other OpenAI, some of the other AI firms like Anthropic, and of course, Google's involved now with Gemini, and Gemini is actually somewhat usable now. So they're starting to get a little frightened about all these things, which even for tech, it's pretty quick to get companies to get to a point where they're like, holy crap, this bubble might actually burst already. As it didn't take very long at all. I mean, all the other ones took a little bit longer, but in any case, we have been using don't like to call them AI tools because I don't believe in the whole. I think we can agree that we're science fiction fans. So I don't know who actually is, but what I'm working with artificial intelligence, not the artificial intelligence that I was promised growing up as a kid, and the rest of us are, right. So, but as a automation tool that we're using in software development, it is actually pretty remarkable, and it's really remarkable in how quickly it has gotten very good at doing the things that we are asking it to do. And you still have to be a software professional. And of course, I'm speaking about this very specific use case, right, with AI when it comes to software development. But you still have to understand what it's doing, and you still have to be able to handhold it. It's a lot like it's an automation tool again, but it's a little bit like if you want to personify it, which is part of what they're trying to do with all these AI things, right? They really want you as a human to feel like you're interacting with something that is human. That's why they're burning all of these bits on taking what's really a vector database with a bunch of numbers behind it and running it through generative engines to string together sentences and encouraging you to the point of nausea about how brilliant of a person you are when you come up with these ideas, which is the tool we use called Claude from Anthropic. It loves doing that, right? Every idea that I suggest to Claude is a stroke of genius in Claude's world, which gets a little tiresome. But it's being able to do some of the things that we would typically do in software development that would take hours can now take like 80% less than hours.
That's significant.
It's really significant. It's once you start figuring out how to interact with it in an appropriate way, you can do things like user interface development is probably where we've seen the most dramatic improvement in time. And part of this is because if you look at it from a technological progress point of view in software development, again, strictly speaking, progress, the fact that this is 2025 and we still sit as developers and write lines of code the same way that we did 30, 35 years ago, it's a little ironic that everything around us has dramatically improved in efficiency and speed and correctness with the help of computers. And in software development, we haven't. We're still doing form validation the same way we are. We're still writing the same lines of code. We're still dealing with the same kind of problems, the same kind of tediousness that we do. So in a lot of ways, I look at what we're doing with AI, with some of these engines like Copilot and Claude and some of the ones that are out there, almost like it's a quantum leap to where we should be. Because, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I was a geeky kid growing up doing all this kind of computer stuff. And I've doing UI design, form validation, trying to write like an email validation system for a sign up, a login page, a sign up page, all of these things, and having to do it like, you're copying and pasting code, but you got to put a different logo in there. You got to give it a different look and feel. You got to do all these things, and you're doing it over and over and over again. And the libraries were really good at expediting you putting these pieces together, but you still have to do a lot of work in getting them to work together. And then you do that for page after page after page. And for me, it's been liberating to be able to say to Claude, I've already got 2 of these pages that I built. Make 3 more pages, make 5 more reports, make 6 more of these things, and just make sure that it matches the style that I have on this page. And it just does it. And it churns for a couple of minutes, and then you go and you have to test it because Claude will be like, I tested it. It's perfect. It's exact words, not mine. Perfect. I've tested it. It works how it's supposed to. It never does. You go and you test it. Just like a junior developer, you go back and it doesn't actually work because you didn't actually test it. And you got to bust his balls every once in a while for it. And then he apologizes. Again, I'm not exaggerating this. This is literally what some of these conversations are like. But it's you're still saving. It's like the 80-20 rule on steroids, right? Like you're saving 80% of the time, but you got to know 20% of what you're still doing and make sure that it stays on track. And what's also been interesting is you can clearly see how at least as a developer who's been doing it for a while, you can see that. Let me take a step back. So
Okay.
a lot of these software development models, the brains of these AI engines, are obviously built off of the absolutely massive amount of open source code there is on
Yeah.
the internet. Microsoft, I don't believe for a second they knew this, but Microsoft now looks like absolute geniuses, right? They look like the kind of, go back to a football analogy, the person who the coach that does the absolutely just ridiculously asinine play that somehow works, and you're like, the dude's brilliant, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
but if he had actually messed that up, you would want his head on a pike,
Yeah.
right? And Microsoft bought that GitHub, the world's biggest open source not open source, the biggest code repository on the planet. I forget what it was. I'm sure someone on here knows, but it was $1 billion or something. It was at least $1 billion. It was an absolutely outrageous amount
Sum of money at the time. Yeah.
at the time, not knowing what they were really going to do with it. They just knew that they wanted to control what was a massive code repository, maybe just to educate themselves or whatever. Enter Copilot in 2023, 2024, and they've got this whole model, right, that they're training all of their AI coding on. Now, because it's still predominantly open, most of the code that's on there, Anthropic's doing the same thing. Microsoft has the benefit of they control the code, so they don't look at your private repositories. I don't believe that. Whereas, I mean, like, come on, right? Like, so they're definitely looking at the private repositories that people are paying for, that we're using, everything else is using for. But the running joke in software development for a long time has been that you're not really inventing anything new. You're reinventing a different way of doing something that's probably already been done, right? So
Yeah.
AI is really, really good at that kind of stuff, because I think we've all seen it where, and it's a very simple test to run. We've had to do it a couple times in development where you give it a prompt, Claude, write me a email verification form, and it does it, and it goes off the rails, and it's wrong. And we
Yeah.
close the window. You give it the exact same prompt. Don't touch anything. Give it the exact same prompt,
Yeah.
and it'll do it completely different, right?
Yeah.
And you can ask it, why did you do it this way versus the other way? And it comes up with some kind of answer about why.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the whole model just came up with a different way of doing it. But
It's a different set of dice rolls this time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the weighting came out a little bit differently. And there's all kinds of things going on behind the scenes that they don't share with the public, right? That we know as software people that they're doing. Like, they slow Claude down sometimes because they're spending a lot of money on processing power, right? They're weighting certain things at different elements based off of your pay levels to make sure that you get better answers than you would with something else, right? All of these kinds of things. And what has been interesting about using Claude is when you hit on something that has been done who knows how many times, the email validation one being a perfect example. When you sign up for an account, put in your email address, it sends you an email with a 6-digit code. You go back, you put in the 6-digit code, and then it says, yeah, you're valid. Then it lets you into the homepage. Almost every site right now has that. So there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of repositories that have that code in there. So when you ask Claude, I need an email validation system for this login page, it spits it out in a couple of seconds, and it works. It just works. It'll do the spots for the 6-digit code. It'll send you the email and make sure that the form works. It's got a countdown time on there, a resend, and make sure that people can't spam your endpoint for email. It does all of that. Just writes it for you. So it literally does 6-7 hours worth of code and literally does it in a couple minutes. Now, if you give it something that's a little bit more novel or something that's a little bit more probably closer to your business case, that is supposed to be a differentiator, right? So something like with this one platform we're building with the coaching app, it's taking a bunch of AI models of all the knowledge that this particular entrepreneur has gathered over 30 years of doing business consulting and distilling that into particular different parts of coaching conversations of what you would need to do to solve some common problems or problems that you're having with your business at that time, with marketing or increasing sales or, never having enough time in a day as an entrepreneur, those kinds of things. And you obviously trying to tell Claude that you want to do this in a particular way, or this is this problem that you're trying to solve. That's where it gets a little bit more of truly a conversational thing where he's pulling ideas and you're working with those ideas and trying to figure out how to do that. But actually writing the code to implement it has taken a minimal amount of time. Now, that's been my use of it, again, as someone who's been doing it for 30 years. What is interesting is we have at Elysium mostly senior developers that are working here, but we do have 2 developers or software engineers who have just finished university college, and they've been working for about a year, and they're coming into a world where this idea of like, he came in and he wanted to code by hand, and I was like, no, like you actually have to, you have to work with Claude on this project because the customer demanded it. We have some customers that refuse to let us use it, and then but the majority of them are like, I don't care whether you use it or not, because what you can say to the customers who allow us to use it is, do you want to get this done faster? Like, do you want to get your product to market quick, or do you want to do it the old way and we take 6 months? Of course, you put it that way, like, well, no, I want to get it done. Then let us use this tool, right? Like, don't tie our hands. It's kind of like saying, I'd really like you to build this house, but I want you to do it like the traditional way. So if you could just use stone tools and a handsaw, because I don't really trust power tools. And you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, we should do that. But why, right? So that's kind of what I look at AI as being. Like, it's really this idea of like, you've got hand saws, now you just handed us a bunch of circular saws and table saws and everything else that we can use to make these things a lot faster. So the new developers are entering a world where they're starting to do development engineering, where this is the reality. This is something that is part of it's part of the job, just like a compiler would be, or using Visual Studio Code, or using a computer, having to use AI to do these things, and teaching them how to use API in a professional way, and knowing where to use their skill set to make sure that the AI automation tools are doing what needs to be done in the grander scheme of the architecture and the product as a whole is kind of an exciting and new way of running a software company that really we've just started doing in the last 6 months. Because as a software entrepreneur, if we don't do that, we're not competing. We won't be competitive with all the other companies out there that are doing this.
Absolutely.
Right? So the idea that you would not use these tools is gonna kill you in the end. So we had a lot of conversations with developers before about how's it going to change their job, and that kill software development. There's going to be no reason for software developers anymore. And this happened before in software development 15, 16, 17 years ago whenever the internet, I'm so old, I forget now, whenever the internet bubble burst. And we went through 5 or 6 years where nobody was coming out of college in computer science anymore because they were told there weren't going to be any jobs. And there was a dearth of talent that took a long time to replace. And I'm seeing that starting to happen right now with AI, that these kids are being told that AI is going to take their job. There's going to be any more jobs. Well, we're all being told that AI is going to take all of our jobs. So they're not going into that anymore. I got one, and this was actually probably a good idea. He was in computer science working for us in a co-op term, and he switched to statistics because he caught on very, very quickly that these models that are being built at the end of the day are statistically driven models. Like they all, not to get too much in the weeds about it, but all these models really are these like
probability clouds.
Yeah, they're weighted numbers, right, in the neural network, and how these numbers are generated, and how the numbers are calculated, and how they're compared to each other, and how all these numbers eventually equate into Claude learning that I swear a lot when I code is all, and giving it back to me after time is where probably one of the large parts of computer science is going to go, is working on those particular statistical models and everything else, which incidentally is why GPUs and NVIDIA and the rest of them are worth as much as they are, because it's all fractional math, right? That's driving this. It's the answer that you're getting in all of these models is words, but they've been derived from, I was going to say complicated mathematics, but it's not
No.
so much complicated as much as it's a pipeline of mathematics of one thing feeding into another thing and then looping and feeding into another and looping and feeding until it gets it just right and gives you an answer. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's a lot. And obviously every paradigm has its, every business has what they're using AI for, but yeah, from the technical standpoint, that's fascinating. From the financial standpoint, like I said earlier about ChatGPT getting nervous that they're going to die, or that they're getting trounced by Anthropic and Gemini is crazy. That the stock market's finally starting to catch on and ask companies like Salesforce and Monday.com and Copilot think crazy questions like, how are you planning on making money doing this? Because the AI has gotten to a point where it's become commoditized so quickly that in these products that if the plan is that they're going to turn around and say, hey, do you really like using AI in Salesforce? And you say, yes, I do. And they say, well, you're going to have to start paying $300, $400, $600 a month to keep using it now instead of 50. People are going to say, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth that much to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Right. And by the way, you gave it to me for free for the last year. So why would I pay for this? Well, I'll just go to ChatGPT and tell it to spit out a document for me and then put it into Salesforce.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to make money on this. I mean, as developers, everybody has its price, but right now, just to give you an idea, and then I'll stop talking. But we are on Anthropic Claude's Pro plan.
Mm-hmm. How much is that?
So the Pro plan, I think, is about $100, $105, maybe less, because I had to convert it from US dollar, and the US dollar is insane right now versus the Canadians. It might be like $85 a month. And I have this thing running where I've got sometimes 3 or 4 Visual Studio VS Code windows open, and I've got Claude working on 4 problems simultaneously. So I've got him doing 4 things at once. On the other plan, which was $20 a month, eventually it's like, get out of here. You're using too much. You need to step away for 6 hours and then try again. With this Pro plan, it hasn't done that. And I'm doing this every day, and I've been doing it for 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
So you look at how much time, even billable hours, we're saving. And I mean, it's a no-brainer. They can come back at me and be like, we're going to start charging you whatever, X thousands of dollars a month. And I'll probably be like, okay, like you've saved it saves so much money in that time that it's worth that. Right. But that's where, like you mentioned earlier, we were talking a little bit earlier about this, is that's where I think it starts getting a little nerve-wracking for the number of people that would be entering the workforce as a junior developer starting out, because that really is,
that's the jobs they would have had. They're like the first job that they would have would be like cutting their teeth on doing those validations, right?
Right. And even then, you're not going to pay somebody like, at least in the first world, you're not going to pay them $1,000 a month to code, right? Like, it's like they would be
the paid intern, right? They would even be the paid interns.
Yeah. It's like, it's less than minimum wage by a lot, obviously, but at least for a full-time job. But that's where I think it comes into, again, looking at it more like AI is not replacing jobs. It's going to change a lot of jobs. It's changing a lot of jobs that we have in what we're doing in computers. But I mean, this is kind of how, not to be glib about it, but this is just kind of how things tend to operate. Like before the internet,
right?
I think all of us on this live chat remember a time before the internet vaguely, and my job what I'm doing right now, my job didn't exist before AI didn't even exist. Like writing a web-based platform with a subscription model using Stripe on the internet, so that you can download a 6 gigabyte file in a minute and a half. That was unheard of 7 years ago, right? 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So all these things end up just changing, and I think that's what AI is going to end up doing. And maybe free us all from some of the mundane stuff that we have to do, and then get to the Star Trek world where we don't need money anymore. So that's my optimistic point of view on it.
The socialist utopia of Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about AI, which is funny because I was watching an old Star Trek episode 2 weeks ago, and because one of the Sci-Fi channel has it on right, and the episode, and I think it's from like 1967, was about an autonomous. It was about a scientist who came on board the Enterprise and was testing an autonomous artificial intelligence that was going to run the Enterprise. I think the Next Generation did a very similar one too.
Yeah, this was
in the 80s.
Nomad. Was this the Nomad episode? The name of the computer was
no, but that one's very similar. This one was, I forget the name of it, but the scientist on it was the scientist that wrote the AI was black, which was also
oh yeah. I remember that one. Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge deal at the time, and I was just kind of like, two things struck me about it. One is that obviously it was kind of ahead of its time, right? I guess maybe for science fiction, not so much, but basically where we are now, it's you end up reflecting on that, being like, holy crap, this is
M5. So Tim Mooney gave us the answer. The computer's name was M5.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah, that was the one. And but then also I was struck by the idea of being like, that's pretty far in the future. You think that it would probably already have had some kind of autonomous AI already built into the systems.
Yeah, but, I mean, isn't the computer like when they say computer, what's the trajectory to Talos 5? The computer talks like that's already an AI. So
yeah, I think it was definitely one of those episodes where it didn't really stand up to the scrutiny from a science standpoint, but I think it had it was clear that it had a social.
Yeah.
Is that the right way to put it? Like a social commentary on it, that because obviously James Kirk was going to be out of a job.
Yes, true.
The whole thing was him being challenged about what the hell am I? What am I here for? And then at the end of it, of course, the optimism of human ingenuity always wins, right? And I still think, and I think with AI, I think that's actually is what's going to happen. Or you can take my more cynical side of it, and with the idea that humans, and especially us in tech, tend to F everything up at some point, and then AI is just not going to reach its full potential anyway, so there's nothing to worry about. So you can look at it either way.
So let me I would love, this is one of those things, we just got into the meat of some of this discussion. I really want to continue on, but I want to wrap things up because I know it's late on your end of the continent.
Yes.
I want to ask just a quick question that applies to, since we're both parents with kids about the same age. Knowing that what we know so far, and it's just, I feel like it's just the beginning. It's just the first claw of this giant creature that's poking up under the tent. What are you going to tell your girls as to how are you? I'm struggling to tell my kids, well, what should you get into? I can tell them what should you avoid. Like I've told both of them from a couple of years ago when I first started seeing AI images, and this is even before ChatGPT, just seeing what generative AI can do with images. And I tell them, don't go into graphic design, don't go into anything that's art related. And of course, now don't go to anything that's music related. And of course, both of the kids love music and creating music. It's like, no, the AI is too good at mimicking, just because that knows from the database what is the most popular songs, what are the chord structure of those songs, what's the beat, and it can generate. And most of that, we were complaining a couple of months ago about how programmatic and regurgitated all the pop music was, and that's created by humans. Now AI can do that so much better and faster.
I mean, my kids look like they're going to start going into, my oldest is going into psychology, which I think, I don't know if it's ironic. I don't know if ironic's the right word for it, but I think is actually going to become one of the more important places, because I think AI, well, there's already, a lot of mental health issues that are being exacerbated by social media. Right. And just I think the way that the world operates right now. And there's a lot of people using ChatGPT and things like that to get that kind of help. But I think if there's one thing that, in my opinion, that COVID brought to the fore was how important human interaction is from a human standpoint. It's one of the reasons we're doing this, right? And we're not doing it through a chatbot. And one of the reasons why people still Zoom, and why immediately, aside from all the other nefarious reasons why people go to trade shows and everything else, but why there's still trade shows, right? Why there's sci-fi conferences, why Comic-Con is still absolutely massive, right? Like no matter what you do with AI, I think humans have a need to do something that is tangible, fleshy, and whatever that is, when people are in a room, that you feel something that's different than you do when you're on a screen, or when you're interacting with a chatbot or whatever that happens to be. All that aside, I think there's going to be a psychological facet to all of this, right? Negative, positive, everything else. Certainly in the short term, with people dealing with job loss and anxiety, and where are we going, and are the robots going to take everything over? My youngest one seems to be moving towards business, and I think that business is still because AI or not, everyone wants to and needs to make money when we're in our capitalist societies that we're in, right?
Yeah.
But it is, if I had to put, I wanted to make a point about what's one of the things that I think is really distressing and surprising, is how out of all the things that AI, I think, has had the biggest impact on, it is the arts. It's on marketing. It's on visual art. It's in music. It's in all these things that people feel there isn't, at least currently, as much value in getting a human to do these things than there is in getting a computer. You can go onto ChatGPT and say, give me 50 of your most outrageous logo designs for my business. It's going to do that. You pick one and you move on, right?
Yeah.
You go into ChatGPT and say, give me a marketing plan, and then go onto LinkedIn and put that on there, and then make me a website, which I just had it do for Elysium Software, and then send out some socials about all that stuff, and it'll do it, right? We've got this one person I was talking about that does the business coaching. He has a bot that every 2 days goes through his meetings, pulls the pieces out of it, and then puts an Instagram posts all over the place about it. Like, he's not doing any of these things. He doesn't have a marketing team doing it. It's all automated, which is, again, both fascinating and frightening. But the one, and I think, and what's funny to me too is he's got, like you said, we could talk about this forever, but he's got bots that check bots to make sure the bots are doing things right. So he has a bot or something in he has, they call it a pipeline or a workflow. He's got one agent that generates the content. It sends it to another agent. That agent's job is to remove all of the AI tropes. So all of the typical repetitive garbage that AI puts in there, like emojis, for example, which is the dead giveaway because it puts little party hats everywhere and like little horns and little like presents all over your document. You're like trying to go something a little more professional here, right? So chill out on the icons, and then it goes through another one that vets to make sure that the information is correct, because you have to do that with AI because it makes stuff up, and then it goes back through again and then rewrites it. So he's putting together agents that are checking agents to make sure that they're doing their job correctly, which in and of itself is kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I had somebody come by here, and I had something leaking in my kitchen into my basement. I have an unfinished basement. Something leaking in my basement. I could not figure out where it was coming from, and it was getting worse. So as is usually the case, I don't know about anybody else, but I call the plumber because I'm like, I got to figure out where this guy, I can't find it. Of course, as soon as I call the plumber, I realize it's like, I know what it is. It's probably coming from the water line that goes into the fridge for the ice dispenser and the water dispenser.
Yeah. Okay.
And sure enough, I pull the fridge from the wall, and it's pinhole, and it's spraying, right? And it's spraying against the wall and dripping down, going into the basement. And as I'm discovering this, and I'm going to get on the phone and be like, no, don't come. The plumber, don't come. He's at the front door. So I'm like, all right, well, I might as well have him come in and try to find something else for him to do, which just so happens that I did have a leak in my ensuite bath that I couldn't fix. I was actually physically incapable of, I needed a professional to do that one. I didn't even know where it was coming from. So I tasked him on that. Anyway, he's there, so he ends up fixing the water line. He goes up and he, puts some sealant or whatever back in, cuts a hole in, checks it up, whatever. And by the time he's done, he hits me with a $550 bill. And I thought, that's something AI is not going to fix. Like,
Absolutely.
it's going to be the rise of the trades. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in a blue collar town, and it still didn't matter that if I was in a blue collar town, you had two choices. You were either going to go get a job at one of the big three factories, none of which exist in Windsor anymore, except for one. There used to be 7, and they're all gone, right? With the exception of the minivan plant. All the other ones, long gone. GM's gone, Ford's gone. I mean, I think they might have an engine plant there that keeps coming and going. But the point is that you were going to get a factory job, or you were going to like leave the city, which is what I did.
Yeah.
But the idea that you would go into the trades, that you would become a mechanic, or that you would be a plumber, or that you'd be an electrician was poo-pooed on there. Like, yeah, that's, why would you do that? Like,
you're
right?
not smart enough to go to college.
Yeah. And which was always stupid, a stupid way to look at it. Right. Anybody who needs an electrician or a plumber knows that these people are worth a lot of money, because they do things that it's called a skilled labor for
Absolutely.
A reason. Right? There's an apprenticeship process for a reason. There's a reason why you're not going out there working on your 240 panel for yourself, right? Or you shouldn't be, in my opinion. But and now the school system here is removed a lot of that ridiculous stigma, and they're trying to get, especially in Canada, because we've had a very, very a problem with having enough people in the trades. It's one of the reasons we have a housing problem here, is because we don't have enough skilled trades to build the houses.
Okay.
Right. And they can't. There isn't enough here, and now they're trying to get more people into the trades. And honestly, like, all kidding aside, with AI, it's like it's those kinds of things that you have to physically do with your hands, is because, absolutely. I worked at a funeral home for 3 years as a software developer, and realized that's another line of work that you're always going to have to do, right? Like, there's certain things that plumbing, electrical work, building things, what the electrical saws, but all these things, and their value. And I'm sure it's happening in the States. Their value here is it just keeps going up, and it's going up because there isn't enough people doing it. They're having a hard time attracting younger people to do it. But the younger people that are getting into it, and we've got the same problem where we've got 60-year-olds who they're looking to retire, and there's nobody to take their job. And so when they come, and a plumber is kind of like, oh, I see, your toilet is spraying stuff everywhere, and it's going through your walls and all this other stuff, and you're going to need to go get a permit for it, and you're going to have to go rebuild it. And they're like, it's going to cost you this amount of money. You're kind of like, okay, like, what am I going to do? Like, you're going to charge me whatever you have to charge me. Like, electrical, the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So if there was one thing I would put somebody into, and they're kind of like, what should I do? I'd be like, damn it, like, go into the trades. There's a guy down the street, a mechanic. He's got 5 stalls. He's only operating one because he can't find any mechanics.
Wow. Okay.
Nobody wants to do it. He's like, Scott, like, on it, like, think about it. Like, what 25-year-old wants to come in here and get his hands all dirty and sliced up when he's going inside trying to fix an alternator or trying to do battery work or whatever in an EV, when he can sit in front of a computer and in a nice warm room and just do whatever he's going to do in front of the computer. And I was like, I guess so, but I don't know how much longer those jobs are going to be around to the level that they are right now. So,
well, even if it's and then we just got to, I think we've discouraged too many folks that really do. I mean, there's some enjoyment in physically connecting things.
Yeah, absolutely.
That me and a lot of other people would have gotten into if we weren't discouraged into taking that path.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot. I mean, with software development, we were doing it even before COVID, but COVID really especially in this industry, took the idea of remote work to an absolute extreme, right? So people working on their own, like I work from home, as somebody mentioned on the chat, this is a very common house that so many of us have behind me here. Same thing within Zoom, right? It's the same background for everybody because we're all working from home, trying to hide the fact that they're I don't know, maybe they're in a bedroom or something, and that they haven't made the bed, and they don't want anybody to see that. So but the personal social impact of that, I think, is something that's crept up on some people who weren't aware that was what was going to happen. So when you're doing some of this trade work, right, and you've also got that, there is the camaraderie. I've talked to lots of tradespeople, for better or worse, the camaraderie of working with, a group of people at a construction site or whatever. But there's a lot of that kind of satisfaction, like you said, that comes with your hands, and more people that probably would have done that if they, like you said, if they weren't discouraged into thinking that was something that they weren't going to be able to make a good living at, which was always ridiculous, because I still don't know anybody, even growing up, who came up to me and was like, damn, I wish I never went into mechanics because I'm poor. It never happened, right?
Yeah.
Or someone who said, becoming a journeyman electrician was the worst decision of my life. Like, they don't say this. There's always people who say it because they're just complainers to begin with, but it's not the idea that if you're able to get to that level of what you're doing, that you're not going to make, again, they're called skilled trades, or pipe fitters is another one. Like, pipe fitting is something that you wouldn't think that, I maybe being the tech nerd, wouldn't think that was a 6-figure job in 2025, but it is, right? Any of these industrial places, the data centers are running electrical, plumbing, pipe fittings, and HVAC, a lot of HVAC and a lot of electricity in those things. So those weren't built by AI.
No.
So, but it is, I guess to kind of put it into conclusion, it is a little frightening when it comes to things like art. But then again, I do wonder if, remember when synths all became the big thing in the 80s, and drum machines, and there's all these right? We thought about how it was going to revolutionize, and it did for a bit. There was a period of time when everything was synth. And
it did change. It's not like there's huge in saxophone and violin making factories anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not a lot making all these things, I guess, kind of come and go. But I do wonder with art, how any kind of art, just generally speaking, that again, if trying to be the optimistic human, if so much I think of what makes art good art is the imperfection of that art, and AI is not good at that.
Yet.
Yes.
Like you're saying about having the bots check the other bots. I was just joking around with G yesterday, saying these AI generated songs, their pitch is too perfect. They're going to have to tweak the software to run a filter to have the pitch go off a little bit randomly,
right?
So that it sounds more human. So we're adding imperfections. It's like adding the scratches and dust filter on front of video to make it look more like film.
And they very well could do that kind of thing. But I wonder what would happen when it comes to concerts, which have become a huge thing again, right? With people going to see concerts, even before all of our favorite bands had to do it, because it's the only way they can make money now because of streaming. But the I listen to it, like, maybe again perpetuating the stereotype, but one of the genres of music I listen to is electronic. So I'm a big Amon Tobin fan, and Dead Mouse and that kind of stuff. So electronic artists. Yeah. And one of the things that's really fascinating to me is that Amon Tobin typically doesn't do concerts, because he's like, there's no reason for me to do that, right? Like, it's pre-produced electronic music, but with all kinds of different layers. Yeah, like, how do I perform that? So the Sydney Opera House, and this is on YouTube, and it's actually very, very cool to watch if you're into this kind of music. But Amon Tobin was invited to the Sydney Opera House, and they were doing, I think it was like some kind of electronic series. Mm-hmm. And I really should check out the other ones, because I've only checked out Amon Tobin's. But they invited a bunch of electronic artists to do, obviously, the electronic music inside the Sydney Opera House, but with some kind of visual, a visual, how would you put it? A visual part of it, a visual aspect of it, and build a visual set. And so Amon Tobin worked with some people and built a set in the dark with lights and everything else. And it's all synchronized to the music as you would expect. And it's got, it's a whole audio visual immersive experience. But at some of the times his face and what he's doing kind of appears inside the set. And he's got, the computers in front of him, and there's knobs and there's like, little switches and all that. And he's going to the music and he's doing the knobs to the beat and he's flipping things and all that. And, at the end of the show, he does an interview and he's like, because he doesn't give a shit, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's all fake. Like, he's like, but I had to do something, right? That was part. I had to put on a show. He's like, but when I'm twisting the knobs, I'm not actually conducting the music at that point. I'm turning the knob to make it look like I'm turning the knob at that point of the song, because it doesn't actually do anything. Like it's not. It's like a software program. So I appreciated the honesty. Like, obviously, it completely destroys part of the fascination of it. But you're like, yeah, I mean that's the visual, the show of it is still really, really neat. But there's and I guess part of that is like, back with the monkeys, right? When the veneer was taken out, like,
yes,
oh my God, they weren't actually singing. It's like, no, they weren't, but you still enjoyed the show, right? And you still enjoyed watching them on TV and everything else. So maybe that is the ends justify the means. But I'm wondering if there's really going to be a world in which and I don't think it would be, but that when you've got music that's AI generated, that's what it would all be like. It's like you've got some guy up there who's lip syncing to whatever the AI generation did. And in a world where our kids are growing up, and that they've got this weird dichotomy, it seems, between accepting some things as being fake and other things it's unacceptable to be fake with that now. And how a lot of them are starting to turn away from using AI because they don't think it's really, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, Tom, because like they're just being, every generation gets raised differently than the one before, but this one's just, it's accelerated. I mean, they've just been, I've got a 20-year-old and a 15-year-old, and they just in the last, talking to my older one, what she was exposed to at the same time that my youngest one has been exposed to is, it's not just now that, different TV shows, right? Or different music. It's like everything is different, right? Like the AI didn't exist when my other one was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And now this other one is 20. And all of a sudden there's AI. And the 5 years before that, no one had a cell phone, right? And now everybody has a cell phone, and there wasn't Instagram, and there wasn't all of this stuff. And how they're going to navigate just their lives in general with having grown up with these things, and how it's affected their interpersonal relationships as a result, that they communicate through Roblox, or that they communicate through Instagram, or that, they have these social interactions in various different ways, but that there's still, at least my oldest one and her friends, making sure that it's important that they actually go out to dinner all the time.
Oh,
and
that's great.
Clubs, and they're joining clubs in university. And a lot, like one of her friends has one of the flip phones.
Yeah.
That supposedly is not a smartphone. It's just a flip phone. She still has Instagram on it though, but it's not a smartphone.
Yeah. We got Tomas one of those flip phones, and I was thinking, like, great. We're going to wean them from keep them away from a lot of distractions. But it has YouTube built into it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, YouTube being a perfect example, and Prime Video and all the rest of it, it's like, again, just the dichotomy between a 20 and 15-year-old, that my 20-year-old was still at an age where she was watching, Backyardigans and Sesame Street and all that. I mean, we were exposing her to that, but they were on TV. And it was one of these things, again, where if you didn't catch Backyardigans at 9:30 on Saturday, like you didn't catch it. You probably didn't catch it because it probably wasn't on on demand, right? Before there was streaming. And now it's like, I think Sesame Street ended up getting renewed by Amazon Video or something, but they were basically not even going to be on PBS anymore, right? Because they got their budget cut because nobody was watching it. And now if you're not on YouTube, or you're not on Instagram, I'm not on Instagram personally, but anymore. But if you're not tied into these things, like you're not really tied into pop culture anymore.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Obviously not being tied into pop culture when you're in high school and university is fatal, right? So, yeah, it's so I think even with AI, just to kind of tie it all together, I think it's going to be interesting to see what our kids end up, not just what they end up going into for a job, but how they end up navigating these things. And I think that I'm not going to say they're going to be better prepared than we are as older adults, I guess, with it, but
Mhm.
just I'm wondering if their perception would be different. Certainly, the perception of things like privacy is different than what we were raised with, right? Like this idea that you'll splash whatever you want on Instagram and people see it, and so many people seem to be okay with that is certainly
So
strange to
yes.
me, right? So, but I was telling my people that were listening before that, you know, what are people going to do when they try to hire you for a job and your boss just happens to stumble, or someone's trying to hire you, start to stumble on this thing. And my outlook on that was like, well, if the entire pool of people you're trying to hire is doing that,
Then
then it
it's
doesn't really matter anymore, does it? Because if that's what is the norm, like it's not like someone going on there and posting a stupid video on Instagram is the outlier. It's like they're not. Like it's you're almost going to be like, you're not on Instagram. You're like 22. You're not on Instagram. Like no, never post anything on Instagram. No, you have you ever used TikTok? I don't know what TikTok is.
yeah, you then you're
Maybe
the
maybe I
weirdo.
don't want to hire you because
Yeah.
like what
What are you
what are
hiding?
you doing? what, what, like you know, like not saying that you should be on TikTok and answer all
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things, but again, I guess it's because it becomes like everything else in life. It's a form of relativity, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
right? Yeah, but yeah, definitely might want to, you know, don't add your boss to your friends list. But I think that's just a general good rule. But yeah, and
Okay.
don't take a job where your boss asks you to be added to your friend list either, because that's also
Oh,
weird.
yes, yeah. I think that's the big red flag right there.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's a good interesting spin on it to wrap things up.
Yeah, just
Um,
we can end it on on good advice.
Absolutely. So let me wrap things up from a contest standpoint, because we still got to give away this beef jerky, which is not this is not an AI construct. This is something real.
How much jerky is in that bag?
It is 2 ounces.
Okay.
So about
Oh, that's a decent amount
yeah,
for a
this is a
snack
decent
collection.
amount. This is like practically a
Yeah,
meal's
I
worth
was
of
gonna be
jerky.
like, I've been out of the ounces game for a while, so I was gonna have to convert it to grams or something. But
57 grams
oh, there you
for
go. Okay.
yeah for you for the folks up north in Metro.
For
57
for the
grams.
rest of the planet.
Yeah, for the rest of the planet. Okay, so for the contest, just want to give everybody a heads up. On my website, if you go to, let me just post up links here for everybody. But if you go to moondogindustries.com/contest, you can find details on 2 contests that are going concurrently right now on my website. One is to win this. Let me just zoom into myself here for a second. I think I can do that. There we go. This is this huge EDC light. I really would consider this more of a utility light, but I mean, this thing is freaking huge. So let me just, where's my phone? You can see it's about how big this thing is, and it's a super bright. They claim 2,000 lumens, possibly. Um, in my test, I wasn't quite able to get 2,000 lumens out of this, but still over 1,500 lumens in my tests of this. So this is got 2 emitters on the you got your main here for long distance beam, and you got your flood on the side, and this has a pretty good decent runtime. Anyway, you could win one of those in the contest this month, or an Aquilifer LPVO, which I've also reviewed. So go to moondogindustries.com. Oh, did I post those links, or just said that I would? Here we go. Here's a link for you right now. So go to my website, enter both of those contests. Pretty easy. It's all free. So you can get a chance to win that at the end of the month. And for the contest that just completed this month, I'm going to do the first of the 2. You can win. We're going to see who wins this Claris E5 plus It's a super thin EDC light, and comes in a variety of designer colors. And also on my website, there's a ongoing fundraiser that I'm putting on for Tomas, my son Tomas. His middle school class is going to Washington D.C. this spring, and he's fundraising for that. And I was able to sell quite a few things at the church fundraiser this weekend. And I've put up for sale a Hilux 5 to 25 power PRS scope on there, and you can donate to the fundraiser, and for the amount that I'm asking for that scope, and it's right, and I'm asking like less than half of the retail cost of that, so you can get a brand new Hilux PRS 5 to 25 by 56 scope, and other stuff that's on there. So go to moondogindustries.com/yard sale, and I'll post a link to that on the side chat as well. Okay, so here's the last clue for the contest. For those of you still on the side, we've blown past the hour as usual. Scott, it's
as
great.
usual. I was gonna say, yeah. Hard stop. I had a hard stop.
Yeah, you had a hard stop half an hour ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mystery brand is this American social networking company was purchased by Microsoft in 2016 for $26.2 billion, which at the time was the record-breaking amount. But now I forgot what they bought. Probably the AI company for more than that. And this is still the largest social networking company for professionals, with over 1 billion registered users worldwide. So if you know who this mystery company is, put a hashtag symbol and their name on the side chat, and you'll be entered into the contest. So let's start with the giveaway for the Claris E5, and I'll bring that onto stage. Let's see here. There we go. And I'm going to ask you to give us a countdown, and then I'll spin to win. These are all the folks who entered the contest. So let me know. Give me a quick countdown, and I'll press the button.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
And the winner is going to be Lee Kiefer, it looks like. So Lee, thank you for entering the contest. I have your mail to address in your entry, so that'll make things easier. But for the contest that we're doing today, for the jerky, let me just bring up that giveaway. And I think, let me bring up the screen here. So share screen for the giveaway tool. Okay, so here is our live giveaway. For the live giveaway, I'm going to need the winner, who's hopefully on the side chat right now, to email me their contact and mail to information for the jerky, since I don't know where you want it shipped to, but we'll see who's going to win. Again, we've got 4 entries into the jerky contest. Your last chance to enter right now if you type in LinkedIn. All right, Scott, give me a countdown and I'll hit the draw button.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
And the winner is going to be Pick. Congratulations. All right, Pick. I'm pretty sure I have your address from the previous win, but just in case, please send me an email, and I'll put up. You send it to contest@moondogindustries.com, and just there you are, Pick. Awesome.
Excuse me.
No worries. So yeah, thanks, Pick. Just shoot me an email at contest@moondogindustries.com, and remind me. Just put in the hashtag LinkedIn in the subject line, and you know what, if you want, you can even designate you can have me send this as a gift to any of your friends and family, so that as well, so it doesn't necessarily have to go to you. If you'd like to send this, you've won the Hatch chili flavored Mad Hat jerky. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Scott, again for taking the time to chat with me. It's always great having a good conversation. I know we're in for a really good chat. And for everybody else out there, if you enjoyed this, if you enjoy listening to Scott and learning about more about software and AI, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. You be safe out there. God bless. Moondog out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.